In this story, you'll hear about a Marine who returns home after years in captivity, only to find his wife has moved on with another man. But sometimes, love and loyalty can take unexpected turns when the truth finally comes out. Gunnery Sergeant William Bill Masterson, the U.S. Marine Corps, sat down in the enormous plane, eager to return home. It had been nearly 6 years since his previous visit to his home. It had been 6 years since. He had embraced his wonderful wife of 17 years, Libby, and seen his daughter, Jenny. As the jet climbed, he took a seat and reflected on his life. He met his wife in 1997 during an event in Balboa Park, San Diego, while training at Camp Pendleton. They were in line for ice cream when a child on roller skates accidentally knocked her down, forcing her to drop her ice cream. He helped her up and promised to buy her a new cone to match her long red hair. And striking green eyes, he fell in love. She accepted his offer, and their romance started. They spent the day sharing stories, and at the end, he was certain she would be his wife. She attended San Diego State University to get a degree in business. Her ambition was to work for her father's company, a well-known investment firm with offices around the country. At the same time, her boyfriend was a lance corporal in scout sniper training. He proudly mentioned his family's military heritage, especially his father, a retired Marine who served in Vietnam. His grandfather was a former Marine who fought in World War II, and his great-grandfather was a Marine veteran of WWI in the Battle of Below Wood, where the Marines got the nickname Devil Dogs. The Masterson family had a long history of serving in the Corps and fighting in important conflicts throughout American history. It's something I've always been passionate about. He explained, I suppose you could say it's a family tradition. They were together until he received orders to Okinawa for a year-long tour without his girlfriend a month before he left. We talked about their wedding preparations. I am from a typical family, he informed her. He wanted to ask her father for permission to marry her. Her eyes twinkled as she grinned that weekend. They went to her parents' home in Los Angeles, of course. Her parents suggested that they stay in separate rooms. Her parents got fond of Bill, who had been promoted to corporal by then her father. John Whitman called him to his study and offered him a drink. Bill accepted and sat down when Libby's father invited him to do so. As a young man, he asked, "What are your intentions with my daughter?" "Well, sir, I intend to marry her, provided you give your approval." "That," Bill said. John smiled and agreed. "You should know that I am grooming her to handle the family business," he remarked. Bill understood. "I'm also active in my family's business," he explained. "I have heard." John responded, "Your family has produced several remarkable figures. Do you intend to establish a career with the Corps?" "Yes, sir, I do." Bill confirms our organization has offices across the country. Libby and I have discussed this, and she is willing to transfer with me so that we can be together. We'd only be separated if I was deployed or ordered to Okinawa for a year. Your daughter is an amazing woman, and I feel we can make our relationship work. Yes, she can transfer with you for the first 10 or 15 years, however. She will eventually have to remain in Los Angeles, I hope. She becomes a successful professional someday. Can you handle that?" he asked. Bill nodded his head. "I am a Marine, sir." He said, "I've learned how to improvise, adapt, and conquer." John grinned and nodded his head. "When were you planning to marry?" John asked. "Libby will graduate when I return from Okinawa, so we figured we'd wait until then, if that's okay." Bill replied, "That's perfectly okay." John replied, "That will give us time to put everything together." He took out a paperwork and handed it to Bill. "Abby, and my wife just like you," he said. "Libby appreciates your company too. I give you my blessing to marry her. Please reread this document and sign if you agree." "What's this?" Bill asked. "It's a prenuptial agreement." John explained, "It is for Libby's protection and assets in the event of a divorce. I'm simply watching out for my daughter. Many people are drawn to her because she is wealthy." Bill was initially insulted, but he understood the agreement's purpose. He wanted to ensure that everything was fair. Bill said, "If you don't mind, I'd like to discuss this with our JAG lawyers at Pendleton first." John responded, "I understand your point of view. My father always advised me to to consult a lawyer before signing anything, so have your JAG lawyers evaluate it. If any changes are required, we will implement them. The lawyers evaluated the agreement, which was a standard instrument intended to protect Jennings's assets in the event of a divorce. The contract also stated that if infidelity was the cause of the divorce, the person at fault supposed to be Bill would receive no support from the other party and would lose 70% of the accumulated marital assets, including the house, car, and joint savings. A JAG attorney made a few changes to ensure that the agreement applied equally to both spouses. Bill and Libby showed the updated paperwork to her father, John, who asked about the revisions. Well, my family owns a sizable ranch in West Texas, and some of it is rented to oil firms. Bill explained the lawyer believed that this would help balance things when I inherited it from my parents. I understand. John replied, that's something I can tolerate. They finished the paperwork, and life resumed that evening during the family supper in front of Libby's parents. Bill proposed to her by presenting a diamond ring. She consented and hugged him enthusiastically while her parents applauded the night before. He went for Okawa. Bill and Libby snuggled in each other's arms after enjoying a beautiful moment. What does Seer Fidelis mean? She asked. I seen that on the Marine Corps logo, but I'm not sure what it means. It's the Marine Corps motto. Bill explained that it means always faithful. He went on to explain how important integrity and loyalty were to him, and how much it mattered to know that he could trust and rely on those around him even when they lacked these qualities. You have nothing, he remarked. She rose up on one elbow, looked him in the eyes. I will always be faithful and committed to you. Bill, she stated, I adore you more than anything. Elsie grinned and gently kissed her. I will always be faithful and loyal to you, my princess. He murmured. Bill's first stint in Okinawa proved difficult. He yearned for Libby and spent his leisure time writing her letters and sending pictures. Instead of joining the Marines and associating with local girls, Libby sent him daily letters and cards. The year eventually came to an end, and Bill returned home. Libby's parents planned a lavish wedding to defray the cost of Bill's parents' journey from West Texas. Bill, a newly promoted sergeant, wore his dress blues, and some Marines, new from Pendleton, worked as ushers following the ceremony. They passed under the Marine Corps Arch of Swords before departing for their honeymoon. In Hawaii, a present from Libby's parents, the couple's life was going well. Bill re-enlisted in 2000 and was later stationed at Marine Barracks 9th and Thigh Street in Washington, D.C. Jenny, their daughter, was born in 2001, nearly a year after their marriage. She inherited her mother's hair and eyes while resembling her father in many facial traits. Libby worked in her father's D.C. office to keep the family together. Terrorists attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon in September 2001, causing global repercussions. A fourth jet crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought against the intruders. Soon later, Bill was called upon to apply his sniper talents for a reason other than paper targets. Libby acknowledged that being in the Corps was a part of their lives when Bill was overseas. She worked in her father's Los Angeles office and cared for their daughter when he returned. She worked at the closest office. Their love and familial bond kept them satisfied. Libby admired Bill's service and expressed her appreciation frequently. Bill, for his part, was proud of Libby's accomplishments and the positive adjustments she implemented at Whitman Holdings to make it more family-friendly. Bill was deployed to the Marine Corps Recruit Depot on Parris Island, South Carolina, where he worked as a drill instructor for 2 years, beginning in 2008. Libby, Bill's wife, worked at the company's regional headquarters in Savannah, Georgia, and was present at all of his graduations. Libby was proud of her husband's accomplishments in the Marine Corps and made an effort to share that enthusiasm with others after finishing his tours. Bill was promoted to gunnery sergeant and assigned to Camp Pendleton. Libby took over the company's regional offices in San Diego, and they continued to live together in 20111. Bill was deployed to Afghanistan for another year-long tour. Unbeknownst to him, the emotional goodbye he had with his wife and kid would be the last time. Saw them in 6 years near the end of his service in 2012. He He re-enlisted in the Corps for another 6-year term while on duty. He encountered a risky circumstance after eliminating his objective. He was besieged by hostile soldiers. He was concerned for his family's safety because they were not following prisoner of war laws instead of being executed. He was placed in a box and repeatedly relocated when not in transit. He was subjected to physical assault and torture. Despite his SEER training, no escape options presented themselves. Bill kept looking for ways to flee. He had no idea how long. He had been held captive, but he knew it was a long time. He listened for clues from his captors, but got none. His knowledge of Arabic was minimal, but he was able to learn a few words and phrases from what he could tell his life had been spared because someone in the United States wanted him out of harm's way, but not killed. He could also tell he wasn't in the Middle East because of the lush greenery around him. He was able to escape the small room and silently fled with a rifle ammunition and a knife from one of the drunken soldiers. The soldiers didn't detect his absence until he was several miles distant. And still moving after a thorough search, they gave up. Bill went stealthily through the jungle, unaware of his whereabouts. He used the sun's position to steer eastward. He mostly survived on leaves, insects, as he had been taught periodically. He managed to catch a tiny animal for food for several days. He saw no other humans. Whenever he saw a road, followed it while remaining hidden. Bill walked looking for clues to his whereabouts. Head paused to eat and pull out a little snapshot from his wallet, a photo of his wife and daughter. He would kiss it, put it back in his wallet, and continue. Bill lost track of time and almost gave up. But the image of Libby and Jenny kept him going when was fatigued. He remembered them, motivated himself to keep going. He took refuge in the rain, used the water to clean himself. The terrain changed sometimes, but Bill continued to move east, avoiding people the entire time. He had no idea how long he had been wandering, but it eventually happened. Stumbled upon a metropolis, a quite huge and contemporary city. He looked for hints, but couldn't locate any near where he was, so he waited till nightfall. He planned to find a U.S. embassy, seek sanctuary, and return to the United States safely. His camouflage utilities were tattered and ragged, and his boots were full of holes. His beard had grown long and scraggly, and he looked weak and malnourished, a shadow of his former self. Fortunately, he had kept his ID card and dog tags. When nightfall arrived, sneaked away and entered the city. He observed a sign indicating that he was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Was aware that there was an embassy in town, so proceeded with caution. He spotted the building and the American flag. He neared the front gate, but a Marine security guard stopped him, presented his ID card, and introduced himself. The guard took his card, inspected it, and summoned someone inside. Bill soon found himself in a wheelchair surrounded by Marines, dressed in blue trousers, who took him inside. A consular officer gathered his information and fingerprints, verified his identity, and quickly transported him to the hospital. Owing to his condition, his uniform had been hacked off. He was cleansed, dressed in a gown, and positioned in a hospital bed. Medical personnel quickly began providing water and medication via an IV. In his arm, others drew blood, and a doctor examined him closely. "Well, Mr. Masterson," the doctor replied, "you arrived just in time. Another day or two, and you might not have made it. You simply rest and relax. We will get you ready to move as quickly as feasible." The doctor has left the room. Bill felt better and eventually fell asleep. When he awoke, a clean-shaven man in a suit was in the room, going over some papers in a folder. When he observed Bill moving, the man focused his attention on him. "How do you feel, Gunny?" a man inquired. Bill nodded his head. "That's better, thanks." Bill replied faintly, "Where am I now?" "You are in a hospital in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Gunny." The man spoke. "Which day is it?" Bill shakes his head. "No idea. It's October 15th, 2016. The man spoke. "You've been missing for more than 4 years? 4 years? Bill asked. "No way, yes." The man said. "Do you remember where you were? And who was holding you? Who are you?" Bill asked. The man smiled and displayed his badge. "John Smith, the intelligence liaison." He explained, "Can you tell me where you were? And who you knew?" Bill said, "Somewhere west of here. Am not sure who was holding me. I was passed off to various organizations along the way. I heard various names. I believe one of the groups was Boo Harem. But am not certain. Can you tell me about the locations where you passed through the vegetation terrain? Anything?" John asked. John wrote while Bill recounted as much of his journey as he could remember. Several times John nodded as Bill explained something. "How did you survive?" John asked. "Thank you to see her." "School for that," Bill said. John smiled. "I will." He said, "Do you remember anything else? Anything out of the ordinary?" "Yes." Bill said, "I recall hearing some of my captors talk about a benefactor. It was almost as if someone wanted me out of the way. But not killed. I never understood that." John stated, "We'll have to throw that into the mix and see what we come up with." "Listen, Gunny, I have to leave now. But I just wanted to let you know that your family has been alerted that you are alive. And arrangements are being made for you once the physicians here believe you can travel safely. Well, transport you to Bethesda for some rehabilitation. The good news is that you will be entitled to 4 to 5 years of back pay, as well as a significant amount of leave." Bill smiled at that. "You rest and relax now, Gunny. You are in good hands." Bill spent several months in the hospital before doctors declared him fit to travel. He'd contracted several ailments throughout his journey, and was he very emaciated? Ebola was a concern, but tests turned out to be negative. Johan made no contact, but intelligence officers debriefed him, and Marine security guards paid him a visit delivering civilian clothing and a new uniform. Bill was now clean manicured and unrecognizable. From his first appearance, he slept most of the way to Bethesda. When he arrived, he was surprised to find cards, messages, and flowers in his new room. He received Greg Ings from his parents, Libby's parents, and Jenny, but his wife merely sent a generic get well card. At least she sent something. He thought the following days were a blur as he saw several doctors. Every portion of his body was examined, probed, and prodded. Blood was drawn, and various body fluids were sampled. He even underwent a mental evaluation. The medical personnel recommended a particular diet and a rigorous physical treatment regimen. Made several attempts to call Libby, but always appeared to miss her. He was able to speak with Jenny and his parents, but Jenny avoided mentioning her mother, claiming she was constantly busy with her job. He found that her father had retired 3 years ago, and Libby had taken over as CEO. Her new role required her to spend time with the board's chairman, Brad Jefferson, after 2 months. He was cleared for discharge. It had been 5 years since his capture, and 6 years since he had last seen his wife and children. He learned that he had 50 days of acre leave, nearly $200,000 in accumulated back pay. Jenny received a call from Bill informing her that he was on his way home and would see her at the airport soon. In the present, Bill looked out the plane window, wondering what awaited him. He had only gotten a get well card from Libby and wondered if she had moved on the plane, landed at LAX, and Bill emerged with the others holding a tiny bag. After grabbing his sea bag, he noticed his daughter, who resembled Libby. When they first met, Jenny's red hair swirled in the air as she charged toward him, arms wide out. "Daddy," she shouted, grabbing him hard and kissing his face. His eyes filled with tears as he embraced her. "I have missed you so much," she said. He gazed at her. His voice was packed with emotion. He said, "I've missed you too, princess." He then said, "Is your mother here?" Her eyes lowered as she shook her head. "No, Daddy, she is not. She's working as usual." Letting head to the automobile, Jenny took his sea bag, but it proved too heavy for her. A man in a black chauffeur's suit approached and grabbed it from her. They moved his items into the trunk, and Bill sat in the back seat with Jenny. "So, what's happening?" he inquired. Jenny grabbed a little laptop and inserted a USB stick. "Mom's circumstances altered." She explained, "You are aware that she is the CEO, correct?" Bill agreed. "So she's been spending time with Brad Jefferson, the board chairman?" Bill inquired. "Yes, him." Jenny responded, "About 3 years ago, they began meeting for lunch and eventually dinner. Now it's a serious relationship." "Has he been with your mother for 3 years?" Bill asked. Jenny agreed with a nod. "Yeah, I'm sorry, Dad. I tried to tell her it was wrong, but she wouldn't listen, Dad. She looks so different now. She used to be kind and entertaining, but now, unkind. Jenny claimed she ordered people about, treats them horribly. She was never like this before. She started altering after we found out you were away, and your status was changed to unavailable. She went overboard. I can't even recognize her anymore. I assured her you'd be back, but it seemed like she didn't care then. She began spending a lot of time with that Brad man. She began bringing him home. I could hear them having a fantastic time in her room. I did not like that, she said. She began crying, and Bill held her. I'm very sorry, Princess. I wish I could have been here. He said, I understand, Dad. She claimed I did anything to get back at her. Bill said, what will some people at school suggested that I record certain moments for when you get home, so I bought some items online with Mom's permission and installed some cameras in her room. So, she couldn't locate them. I recorded some videos. I simply looked at them momentarily. They were too embarrassing for me. She turned on her laptop and went to the USB drive. She gave him a set of earphones and started the first video. Bill watched as Libby and Brad undressed in her room. They soon found themselves in a close, personal moment together. Bill was uneasy with what he witnessed. Brad appeared out of shape, was breathing heavily. When embracing his wife, Bill merely watched for a minute or two before turning the video off. Jenny responded, there's a lot more of that, Dad. I apologize, not your fault, Princess. Bill responded, you might want to listen to the videos from the last couple weeks, however. Jenny proposed, Mom. And Brad had been acting strangely since they learned you were alive. Coming back, I've heard them argue a lot recently. Some of it makes little sense to me. She handed Bill the key. What is this? Bill asked. It's the key to your truck, Dad. She explained, when I learned you were returning home, I took your truck out of storage and got it repaired. It's inside the garage. Bill smiled. He had purchased a 2010 Ford F-1504 X4 prior to his last tour and was really pleased with it, I assumed. You'd need it. Mom renewed the registration and insurance on it, making it legal. Thank you. But I will need more than a truck. I also need a place to stay. I cannot live in a house with an unfaithful wife. May I stay with you? Jenny asked. I don't like what Mom has been doing, and she hasn't been home much recently. She no longer cooks or does anything as she once did. She no longer has to do everything herself. She most likely has someone who helps her with everything. Bill laughed. Sure, you can stay with me if you wish, Bill replied. Jenny grinned and hugged him. Thank you, Dad, she replied. But you know, a judge will probably order you to stay with your mother. He said that is what normally happens during a divorce. So are you going to divorce her? Jenny asked. I don't have a choice. Explained. By then, the automobile had drove into a gated driveway and came to a halt in front of a massive home with enormous columns. My God, Bill said. Do you reside here? Yeah, Jenny spoke. Unfortunately, Brad advised her to acquire it when she became CEO. I despise it here. They walked into the room. Chauffeur delivered. Bill seized suitcase to the man who greeted them at the front entrance. This way, sir. The man spoke, struggling under the weight of Bill's bag. They ascended a long curved staircase that reminded Bill of something from Gone With. The wind, Bill. Let the man struggle with his sea bag before following him to a door on the second floor. Madame said, You had to stay here, the man remarked this when he opened the door. Bill took the bag from the man, tossed it onto the bed. He looked around, thought the sterile room resembled something from a high-end hotel. Bill said I wouldn't be here long. He thanked the servant and exited the room. He asked, Jenny, which way to the master bedroom? Jenny guided him down the hallway and opened the double doors. Bill observed a scarcity of family photographs. In souvenirs, he discovered a legal folder in a drawer. He opened the folder and read the documents. Surprised, it appeared that Brad had persuaded her to have the courts declare him deceased. Fortunately, the papers had not yet been filed. The folder also included a notarized copy of the prenuptial agreement he and Libby signed years ago. Continued to search the room before leaving with the unfiled documents. Jenny followed him back to the room allocated to him by his soon-to be ex-wife. It was tough enough that she had cheated on him. But having him reported dead was far worse. He grabbed a sea bag and a travel bag and glanced at Jenny. Where's my truck? He said, I need to leave this place. What is wrong, Dad? She asked. Did you know Mom intended to have me declared dead? She shakes her head. No, Dad, I did not. She said, how could she? I need to leave. Said, I'm sorry, Jenny, but I can't stay here, not for a minute. I need to get a hotel room. And think for a while. Will I see you again? She asked. Yes, I'll let you know where I am, he said, but I have to talk to your mother about this. And it will not be easy, I understand, Dad, she replied. But before you leave, I have a few things to say. She left the room and returned a few minutes later with a laptop bag, an envelope, a smartphone. She handed him the telephone. I got you this so we could stay in touch. She explained, it has all of the latest technology. I have already activated it for you. Thank you, Princess. He suggested this would come in handy. You are welcome, she said. She handed him the laptop. You will also need this. I have programmed my phone number into it for you. He thanked her for the laptop. She handed him the envelope. What is this? Bill asked. It is an invitation to a large workplace social event. Mom will be out tonight. She announced, I can't take being in the same room with her, Brad. So I thought it would be fascinating if you came to my apartment. I've heard that the media will also be there. He opened the envelope and took note of the time, 9:00 p.m. He smiled at the possibilities. Thank you again. He said, now where's my truck? I've got a lot to do. Follow me, she said. Bill packed his bags and followed his daughter to the bottom of the stairs. The servant who was carrying his equipment. Stop them, sir. Lunch will be served in 15 minutes. He stated, will you stay with us? No, absolutely not. Bill responded. The man's eyes widened as he took a step back from Bill's forceful statements. What should I tell Madame? The servant inquired. Inform the person we're working with that she... Can you? No, Bill spoke hesitantly. Yes, sir, I will tell her. She can, quote, kiss your buttocks, added the servant, echoing Bill's statement. Bill nodded, pleased with the response. Do you see that? Bill spoke as he followed his daughter out the back door and into the garage. He observed his large blue pickup next to a stylish Mercedes. He considered using his key to repaint the paint. Job, but ultimately decided against it, flung his gear into the rear seat of the dual cab, and turned to face his daughter. I apologize for everything, Dad, she added as he held her. Please remain in contact. I will always be here for you. It's not your fault. He told her, I'll call you after I've settled in somewhere. And thank you for everything. I love you, Princess. I love you too, Dad, she added. Bill got inside the truck and started it up. He smiled as the beast roared into life, took one last glimpse at his daughter before driving away. She smiled, waved as he exited the garage, selected a motel that offered weekly rates, checked in. He brewed coffee using the complimentary maker, began looking for a divorce attorney in the phone book. He arranged an appointment for later in the day. He got the laptop top, plugged it into a power source. He took a piece of paper containing Jenny's email address and put it aside after completing the necessary steps for a fresh computer setup. He established an email account and informed his daughter of his whereabouts. He removed the USB drive Jenny had provided and scanned the lengthy list of videos. Despite the pain, he watched the films, bypassing the majority of the sexual content because it did not interest him. He was looking for something else and indications of why she was acting in this manner in a recent video. Libby and Brad disagreed. Brad suggested having an intimate moment, but Libby refused, stating that she would not do so while her husband was alive. And they were still married. Libby, visibly upset, retreated to the master bathroom, forcefully closed the door behind her. Brad pulled for his phone and made a call unbeknownst to Bill, who could only hear portions of the conversation. Mood. He asked, I need you to do me a favor. You will be compensated when you complete the task. Don't give me that look. I am not the one who lost him. You had one task: keep Masterson out of circulation for 5 years. You did not do it. Do this, and you will receive the remaining cash I owe you. No, she has no idea about this. You should keep away from her. Did you agree I have to go? Simply complete it all? Right, goodbye. He ended the call just as Libby emerged from the restroom. Bill passed the video. He was stunned by what he had heard was Brad Jefferson accountable for his detention. Had Libby played a twisted game regardless? She faced his disgust for cheating and endured the consequences. But Brad needed to be held accountable for his conduct. Bill copied the videos to his laptop and got ready for his meeting with the lawyer. He changed from his uniform to jeans, and a polo shirt provided by Bethesda secured everything, adoring, and proceeded to the attorney's office. Sally Clemens, a non-nonsense lawyer with a grudge against men, welcomed him. Bill initially wondered if in the right place, but Sally's surprised expression convinced him to stay. "Are you leaving, Mr. Masterson?" she asked. "Look, Miss Clemens." Bill explained, "My wife cheated on me for 3 years while I was away. I went through a lot to return to the United States, only to discover that she was also planning to declare me dead. All I've heard from you since I arrived is a lot of advice. If you're not willing to help me because I'm a man, tell me now, and I'll find someone else." Her face softened slightly. "I apologize, Mr. Masterson." She said, "I don't represent cheaters. And in my experience, many of the people who come to me do so because they think it'll help them in their marriages. I assumed that's right, Miss Clemens. You made an assumption without even listening to me." Bill said, "I think I'll find someone else." He began to leave, but she stopped him. "Please, Mr. Masterson." She said, "Let me take a look at what you have." Bill sat back down, and pulled out his USB drive, and handed her the folder with the prenuptial and the filed paperwork to have him declared dead. Looked through it all before turning back to him. "How much is your wife worth?" she asked. Bill shakes his head. "I have no idea." Said, "She's the CEO of Whitman Enterprises. Yeah. And has a huge house, had been gone for years, so I don't know how much she's worth. Maybe millions." "Are you sure this isn't a ploy to get her money?" Sally asked. She quickly realized that was a mistake. "How dare you?" Bill growled, "I don't give a about her money. And never have we had a great marriage until that person came along. I have every reason to believe they're the one responsible for my situation. I just want a quick divorce based on the prenuptial so I can get on with the rest of my life again." "Mr. Masterson," "I'm sorry," Sally said. "You say you have a daughter. Do you want custody of her?" "Yes, and she wants to stay with me." Bill said, "Sally said she's 16, so the judge might consider that. But realistically, getting custody is unlikely. Courts usually give custody to the mom. Your military service could be a problem. So maybe we should aim for joint custody with your wife having physical custody, and you having lots of visitation time," Bill agreed. "Yeah, okay," Sally nodded. "When can we start the process?" "I can complete the paperwork and serve her at work in 2 or 3 days." She said, "Week based the filing on the prenuptial. You know, California is a no-fault state, so you can't file for adultery. Do you want any support from your wife?" Bill shakes his head. "Okay," Sally said, "but I will request that. She'll cover attorney's fees and court costs. That is okay," Bill said. He paid a large retainer and left. He noticed a bar and grill on his way back to the motel and stopped in checking his watch. He realized he had several hours before the evening event and was a bit hungry. He entered the establishment and requested a burger and a soft drink once. He finished eating. He sipped his drink, pondered who to contact about Jefferson. He was certain that Jefferson was responsible for his confinement. Scanning the bar, he noticed 2 men appearing to observe him. Both had darker skin tones, and one had a mass of unruly curls and what seemed like a single thick brow covering both eyes. A voice spoke next to him as he picked up his drink. "Hello, Gunny," said an older man with mostly gray hair, parted slightly to the left of the center of his head. "How do you know I'm a gunnery sergeant?" Bill inquired. The man tilted his head and smiled. "You just look like a gunny to me," replied. Bill smiled in response. "Maybe we should eliminate uniforms," he suggested. The man laughed. Bill offered his hand. "Bill Masterson, Gunnery Sergeant, U.S. Marines." The man shook his hand. "I'm aware." He said your TV appearance impressed me, trekking through Equatorial Africa without a map, evading terrorists, and surviving on the land for 5 years. Your SEER instructor must have been exceptional. They were, Bill agreed. What brought you here? I will not do an interview if that is what you are looking for. The man grinned, presented his credentials. Bill noticed the handgun hiding inside his jacket. Lee Gibson. And CIS, may we talk privately? Bill nodded in accord. Yeah, I've got a motel room, just the street. He explained. Lee got off his bar stool. Lead the way, Gunny. Said my pickup is out back. Bill instructed, follow me. Keep an eye on those two. They've been eyeing me since I arrived. Lee explained that they have been following you for quite some time. Follow my lead if they appear behind us, okay, you are the boss. Bill said. Lee chuckled as they left the bar. The two men got up and followed them outside. Lee noticed and turned to Bill. Think you can handle Curly? He asked. Bill nodded his head. Yeah, no issue, said as they reached Lee's SUV, which was parked beside Bill's truck. He saw a man's reflection in the back window. The man had curly hair and appeared to be carrying a bag in his belt. As he prepared to lunge, Bill moved to the side duck and landed a surprise punch on the man's stomach. The man doubled down, and Bill delivered a knee to his face, fracturing his nose. The man dropped the knife and fell onto the paved parking lot. Bill kicked him many times in the groin before kicking the knife away. The man lay on the ground, groaning in anguish. Noticed Gibson was conversing on his phone while the other man in handcuffs was restrained moments afterward. Another black SUV came, and two men got out. One handcuffed Curly, while the other murmured to Gibson. They put both males in the back of their SUV and drove away. Gibson turned to face. Oh, Bill, not bad for an old gunnery sergeant, he commented. Old Lee got into his SUV and followed Bill into the motel. Bill prepared more coffee and gave Lee a cup. Lee winced as he sipped. What's this stuff? He asked. They claim it is coffee, Bill responded. Sorry, but I haven't had a chance to go grocery shopping yet. So, what draws you to NCIS? Do you know anyone called Brad Jefferson? Lee inquired. I know who he is, Bill explained. But I don't know him personally. I am aware that he is the chairman of the board of Whitman Enterprises, I assume. He is responsible for my enslavement in Africa. But that is it. You might be right about it, Lee stated. We've traced multiple calls from him to known terrorists overseas and ISIS sympathizers in Los Angeles. We've also spotted a number of transactions involving him and several suspicious Middle Eastern companies. Bill said, I have several videos that you might be interested in. Lee asked, what is it? Bill explained, this is a portion of a chat he had with someone named Mahmoud. I didn't hear the rest. He turned on his laptop and played a video of Brad and Mahmoud chatting. Lee's eyes widened as he listened. Do you have any more videos? Lee inquired. Yes, but I only recently received them and have not had chance to review them all. Bill responded, I am not sure if Brad is talking to Mahmoud or anyone else. Not an issue, Lee said, pulling out a thumb drive. Transfer them here, and my technical staff will look them carefully. Bill added, the video was taken in my wife's bedroom. Lee inquired, so are you planning to divorce her? Bill said, I just met with the lawyer. She's currently preparing the documentation. Lee said, I apologize. Bill shakes his head. It's not your fault. He explained, based on our conversation, I believe. Libby was unaware of it, however, her acts remain unacceptable. Lee nodded. I'll still need to speak to her. Bill agreed. Maybe you should make her understand how important her acts are. I don't think she really comprehends it. Lee smiled. I will take care of it. I love it. She said, you're not such a lousy high school instructor. Emily grinned as she poured the remainder of her lemonade into the sink and threw away the cup. Emily remarked, you may not say that unless you start buying some real lemonade. Jake laughed. Do you believe I am secure here? Or should I find another location to stay for a while? He asked. Emily answered. I think you'll be as safe here as anywhere. Simply keep an eye on your buddies. Ill. Have a couple of companions keep an eye on yourself too, just to be safe. She took out her phone and handed it to Jake. Call me if you need to, anytime. Thanks, Jake. Stated that, he scrolled his phone number on a small slip of paper, handed it to Emily, who slid it into her pocket. I will be in touch, Emily spoke as She departed. Bill sat with his coffee and browsed the films. Jenny shared with him his heart ached while he watched. How could she have done this to him? He wondered. In the background, he overheard Libby and Brad declaring him dead, and the ramifications it would have for Jenny. He couldn't help but notice Brad's satisfied expression as they talked. However, Libby seems unconcerned with the issue. As the evening arrived, Bill began to prepare for the social gathering he would be attending. Showered, shaved, and decided to wear his Class A uniform after correcting his urine and cutting her cap at a tiny angle. He took the invitation Jenny had given him and departed his house. He parked in the hotel lot for the occasion. He strolled purposefully to the entrance, removed his cover, presented his invitation to the doorman. Bill entered and spotted Libby and Brad. Her hair was darker and shorter, and she had new lines around her eyes and mouth. Libby hailed Bill as he approached. "So it's William now?" he asked sarcastically. She went to Brad for assistance. Bill approached him, noticed that he was at least 3 and taller than Libby's lover. He approached a recruit about to be dressed down, stood toe-to-toe with him, pushing him to look up. Bill extended his hand. Brad accepted it. Bill squeezed forcefully, causing Brad to wince with agony. "So you are Brad Jefferson," Bill said. "You are the individual who has been spending time with my wife over the previous 3 years." He continued loudly, forcing others nearby to gasp out, "If I could take a moment to speak with my wife, that would be fantastic," Bill requested. Libby spoke up. "Bill, please return to the house, and we'll chat later," she replied with order, attempting to dismiss him as if he were one of her staff. Bill's eyes were filled with rage, and Libby had never seen this side of him before. "Fine, whatever," he responded. His voice sounded resentful. Others nearby hastily separated themselves. "I am not your servant, and you cannot simply order me around," he added. She stepped back, taken aback by his tone. Bill guided her aside, resting his hand on her elbow. "Bill, are you causing a scene?" She whispered. "Please, not here." "Why not?" Bill asked. "Are you currently upset with your own husband?" He looked at her left hand and discovered she wasn't wearing her wedding or engagement rings. "You must be. You can't even get yourself to wear the rings I gave you. Is that why you decided to get involved with that guy and have me proclaimed dead?" "Yes, I am fully aware of this. Sorry. But the stories of my death were highly overblown." Libby's face flushed as she gazed down at the floor. "Do you recall what I told you about Semper Fidelis and the definition of loyalty?" he asked. She nodded. "So guess what? When you chose to be with him, you became a traitor to me. You became my adversary." Her eyes widened with shock. "And do you know what I do with my enemies?" "Bill, please think twice before doing anything. Brad is a highly powerful man who bring you difficulties," she explained. Bill laughed in her face. He answered, "You have no idea what you are talking about. Who do you think held me captive all those years ago?" Her eyes widened. He wasn't positive Brad was responsible for his confinement, but he was curious. To witness her reaction, "You seem to forget that I am a United States Marine. I do not shy away from challenges. You are no longer a part of my life, and he'll be taking legal action shortly." He pulled out the picture he had brought across Africa and gave it to her. "This aided my voyage throughout Africa," he explained. "When I was cold, fatigued, hungry, and unwell, the thought of a loving wife and daughter waiting for me at home gave me the fortitude to keep going. I still have a daughter, so maybe 1 out of 2 isn't bad." He took off his wedding band and gave it to her. "What do you want me to do with it?" she asked. There are tears in her eyes. "I don't really care anymore," he said. "Do whatever you want with it when you receive the papers. Sign them to conclude this," she wailed as he turned to leave. He could hear her crying out to him, but he persisted, a single tear streaming down his cheek, enraged. He went to a local tavern to escape his problems. He ordered a glass of wine, finished it, and then ordered another after a few more glasses. Lee and another man joined him at the bar, sitting on opposite sides. "We observed you talking to your wife," Lee remarked. "How do you feel?" "Not excellent." Bill responded. Lee nodded. To have been through difficult times. My first marriage ended in disaster, and I've been divorced twice since it's difficult. But things can get better. Yes, I could use some good news, Bill said, taking a sip from his drink. The two men who contacted you today have revealed everything, Lee stated. They disclosed that Brad directed them to target you and pay for your capture. They claimed that no one else in the U.S. was involved. We following up on other leads and aim to question Brad and your wife tomorrow. Are the two still in custody? Bill inquired. Absolutely, Lee responded. Well, have a couple agents keep an eye on you. As a precaution, you'll be able to see how they bring you down. We might have some questions for you after we talk to them. Why would you go to these lengths? Bill wondered. You wanted your wife, that was all. Lee explained. We don't believe she played any role in his plans. My instinct tells me no, but I haven't spoken with her yet. He answered. I'll know for sure when I do. Bill finished his drink and then ordered another. Lee saw him take a sip. I believe you've had enough for tonight, he remarked. Fine, Bill responded. I finished the drink swiftly. He smashed his shot glass on the bar, signaling for another. The bartender paused when Lee lifted his hand. It's time to leave, Gunny, Lee said. Allow my partner to drive you back to the accommodation. Bill considered confronting Lee, but instead handed his keys to Lee's associate. Good decision, Gunny, he said. I'm not drunk, I'm just tired, Bill said. Lee's companion drove Bill back to the motel and assisted him inside. I'll come by and fetch you up tomorrow afternoon, Lee explained. Bill nodded his head. He took off his uniform and went to bed. The following day, Bill had breakfast and then stopped at a convenience store for coffee, a six-pack of beer, some soda, and a few small goods. His phone rang as he returned to the motel. Dad, are you okay? Jenny asked. Yes, Princess, why? Bill asked. Mom was very upset when she arrived home last night, Jenny spoke. I had never seen her cry like that before. Was Brad with her? Bill asked. No, he was not, Jenny spoke. What happened last night? I introduced myself to your mother's acquaintance and had a pleasant conversation with her. Bill said. Whatever you said must have hit close to home, Jenny spoke. Good. Said perhaps she'll understand what a huge mistake she made. Keep me in the loop, Dad, she said. I don't like what she did either, but I don't want her to be hurt. Do not worry, Princess. Bill ended the call. Lee arrived early that afternoon. Picked up Bill, driving him to the NCIS headquarters. Libby and her lover would be probed. Bill observed from an observation room as Libby was led in, seated, and given a bottle of water. She didn't seem happy to be waiting, but there was nothing she could do. Lee finally entered the room, sat across from her. Why am I here? Libby asked defiantly. Lee opened a folder and arranged 3 photographs in front of her. 2 of them were images of the individuals who attacked Lee and Bill, while the third was a photograph of Bill when he arrived at the embassy in Addis Ababa. Libby recoiled as she saw the photograph. What is the matter? Lee stated. Don't you recognize your husband? Is that a picture of Bill? She inquired, surprised. Lee nodded his head. Yeah, that's how he looked when he arrived at the embassy in Addis Ababa after a long journey. Based on his descriptions, we estimate he traveled around 2,500 miles, we believe. He was somewhere in Ghana when he fled his kidnappers. Lee stated that if he had another day or two, he would most likely not have made it. Libby started crying. I need to decide if I should charge you as an accomplice in his kidnapping or attempted murder, Lee explained, or both combined with the allegation of aiding known terrorists. Libby was stunned. I did not perform any of these things. Lee said. Your partner did? Paid these 2 to assault and murder your husband? They failed, of course. They also acknowledged Brad's involvement. You intended to have your husband declared legally dead, correct? Libby hesitated before responding. Only because Brad said I had to. Nobody knew where he was for almost 5 years. And you intended to marry Brad after your spouse was proclaimed dead? Lee inquired. Yes. What happened when he divorced his wife? Libby said, her eyes welling with tears. Lee gazed at Libby. So as explained, you began a relationship with Brad Jefferson after becoming CEO. People believe you intended to marry him after your husband was proclaimed deceased by the court. and the divorce was finalized. But we are expected to believe you were unaware that Brad had paid for your husband to be kidnapped and detained for 5 years, or perhaps he ordered a hit on your husband. Is that correct? Libby started crying. You have to believe me, she murmured, tears flowing down her cheeks. I had no idea Bill had been kidnapped or that there had been a hit on him. Lee shook his head. I only believe what the evidence shows. He stated Brad has already implicated you, claiming it was entirely your idea. Libby's eyes flared with rage. That is not true. You are already aware of this. I love my husband. She stated, I would never do it to him. But have you had an affair? Lee stated, yes. I slept with Brad, and I apologize for that. But Brad claimed Bill was probably dead. She claimed that she would never have cheated on Bill if she'd known. Was still alive. I waited for about 2 years and heard nothing from you. I wasn't sure what to think. Lee gazed at her for a few moments. His eyes narrowed. He eventually stood up. I believe you, Mrs. Masterson. He stated, that's why I want to charge you right now, maybe later after. I've had a chance to review all the evidence. Your boyfriend, however, will not fare as well. I recommend that you stay in the area. In case we need to speak with you again. He stood up and exited the room. Libby clutched her head, weeping. A minute later, Brad strolled into the room. He approached Libby and put his hand on her. She leaped out of the chair and struck him with her closed fist, knocking him to the floor. Libby, please, Brad began. She kicked Bill in the balls, making him smile. Be silent, filthy person. Libby said, I simply pray to God that Bill will forgive me for making a mistake. Lee opened the door, pulled Brad up from the floor, hands cued behind his back. He grinned at Libby before turning out the light as he departed, allowing her to glimpse Bill via the one-way observation glass for the second time in as many days. Bill turned and walked away, leaving Libby crying after him. Libby was served with divorce papers at her office the following afternoon. Noon, Sally called her. Hello. Bill, she said, I simply wanted to let you know that I received a visit from Libby today. She signed the divorce papers and will not contest anything. She also left something for you to pick up. It resembles a really enormous check. She requested me to let you know that you can see Jenny whenever you wish. She resigned as CEO of Whitman Enterprises effective immediately and is putting her home up for sale. I have everything filed, so you will be a free man in 6 months free, Bill said regretfully. Yes, right, I suppose I should be a happy man, but I am not. Bill, I know. She hurt you badly, but I believe she still loves you, Sally said. You can still cancel this if you guys reconcile. She claims you haven't heard her side in all of this. Perhaps you should just get closer. Think about it. Replied, thank you for all of your help. He ended the call, went to the neighborhood cafe to have a coffee, sipping a second cup. Lee arrived. Bill bought him a coffee and they talked about their daily lives for a bit. I heard your wife received service documents today, Lee commented. Yeah. Bill responded, I suppose I should be a happy man. But I am not, life continues, Gunny. Lee said, I believe Libby was as much a victim as you. Stop after I conclude my investigation. They finished another beer before Lee spoke again. You have orders for the office tomorrow. You've been assigned to the Scout Sniper School at Pendleton as an NCOOIC and have been promoted to Master Sergeant. And nodded, I will be there tomorrow early. He walked to Sally's office and picked up the envelope. Libby had left earlier. Inside was a cashier's check with many zeros and a business card. Libby suggested that you contact a good financial advisor to assist you with this, and I tend to concur. Bill nodded, don't worry. Libby will be okay financially anyway. She still has 30%, a trust money in addition. She receives a little dividend from the company, which is still owned by her father, thank you. Bill said, why? The lengthy face. Bill, she asked, you should be celebrating, you won. But at what cost? He asked. Libby was my life. It was her who helped me get through my ordeal in Africa. All I did was for her, now it's all gone. Well, not quite, Sally responded. You still have a half year. If you actually care about her, things can be turned around. Easier said than done. Bill Count Sally simply shook her head in answer. Maybe you should contact her. She suggested at the very least think about it. It agreed after returning to the motel. He contacted Jenny Hyded. She said, how do you feel? He said, not too great. Want to grab a burger somewhere? Absolutely. She replied, when would you prefer to meet? How about right now? He inquired. I will be waiting for you, she said. Bill got into his pickup and picked Jenny up. Fortunately, Libby was not home. They drove to the nearest In-N-Out for a burger and a Coke after dinner. They visited a nearby park. I will be departing for Camp Pendleton soon. Bill said, I'll get my orders tomorrow and then probably head down. I don't see any need to stay here anymore. What will you do there? Jenny asked. I will be the Scout Sniper School's new NCOIC, he responded. For how long? She inquired. I don't know. He replied, probably approximately 3 years. Will you be traveling overseas again? Jenny asked. Bill shrugged his shoulders. I do not know, not anytime soon. Remarked, you are welcome to visit me at any moment. She smiled. I'd rather have you with us full time, she explained. He nodded me to Princess. Said, I agree. When will you leave? She asked. In a few days. He said, after I get new chevrons for my uniforms and being promoted to Master Sergeant. Congratulations. She said, thanks, replied, smiling. Look, Camp Pendleton isn't so far away. We can meet together whenever you like. I'd like that, Dad. She replied, you know, Mom still loves you, so I have heard. He said, do you still love her? She asked, yeah, I'd probably always. Will, he admitted, I abhor what she did, and am not sure I can trust her again. I recall you once telling me that people deserve a second opportunity after making a mistake. She remarked, don't you believe Mom deserves it as well? Your mother went completely beyond. Said it will take a lot for me to go past what she did. I understand. Jenny spoke. I just hate that you two are separated. I agree. Jenny, he expressed. This, after a longer stay with his daughter, he drove her home happy to discover that Libby was still gone, returned to his accommodation and called it a day. The following day, went to visit Lee, who had his orders. And promotion certificate? Congratulations, Top, Lee remarked. Reading the certificate, I will be in touch. The investigation is nearly finished, and I'll let you know what I find. Thank you, Lee. Bill spoke for everything. He took his uniforms to the cleaners and had fresh chevrons stitched on. Talked with the financial planner. Libby made recommendations to him. He'd asked him what he wanted to do with the money. She had given him. The financial planner appeared astonished, but said, would do what? Bill requested. A day later, he arrived at Pendleton and checked in, taking new post as the NCOIC of the Scout Sniper School. He enjoyed his new work, instructing young Marines. But Libby's absence affected him deeply. It felt as if a significant portion of his life was missing. He would ordinarily share all of this with her, but she was no longer there to inspire him. For 2 months, Bill called Jenny almost every other day. He learned that Libby had received an offer on her house and was considering a San Diego condo. Brad faced federal allegations of collaboration with terrorists, conspiracy to commit murder, kidnapping, and supporting America's enemies, which could result in life imprisonment. Libby's father, the previous CEO of Whitman Enterprises, returned to work and offered her a future leadership position, which she declined. Jenny called Bill a month later in panic, alerting him that her mother was in the hospital. What is wrong? He asked. She attempted to kill herself. Jenny said, please come and see her. Okay, Bill said, I'm coming. Where is she? She is at Scripps La Jolla. She asked, please hurry, Dad. Bill grabbed his coat, dashed out, getting into his car, driving as quickly as he could to the hospital. When he arrived, found Jenny in the waiting area crying. What happened? He inquired, placing his arm around Jenny. I came home from school and found her in bed. She explained. There was a bottle of sleeping tablets and a bottle of scotch. She was holding your image and did not answer. I called 911 and they came to bring her here. I should have seen it coming. Dad, I'm so sorry. It's fine. Bill said, it is not your fault. I will take good care of her, his daughter. Exhaled. Dad, since you left, all she does is drink and weep. She does not cook, clean, or do laundry. She hardly eats anything. It's as if she's lost her will to live. Can't you forgive her, Father? She is miserable without you. And so am I. Bill cuddled his daughter for a few minutes before heading to the nurse's station to find out what he could. And you are the nurse? They asked. Bill said, I am her spouse, yet we are estranged. What's her current status? The nurse hesitated, but presented Libby's information. She's inside a room, Dr. M. On my way, Dr. Smith approached. I am Dr. Smith, are you? Elizabeth Masterson's husband. Bill nodded, yes, I am. Bill was informed that his wife was stable following the evacuation of the majority of sleeping medications from her stomach. She would be retained for observation. An evaluation with counseling advised. He was allowed to see her, although she would remain sleepy for a while. Bill was surprised by her frail and pale appearance, but happy to find she still wore her rings. He closed his eyes and shed tears as he prayed for her recovery. Jenny hugged him, and they both cried, Why do we live? He whispered, Why did you do it? Please do not die. I do not want to lose you like this after a few hours. He sensed her movement and heard her feeble voice. Bill, she inquired, is that really you? He peered into her eyes and noticed tears on her cheeks. He kissed her, hugged her close. Yes, lips, it's me. He explained, am actually here. They sobbed. As they hugged, Libby left the room. I apologize. Bill, she said, I never had a chance to explain. Will you ever forgive me? He kissed her and gently put his finger to her lips. We will chat later. He whispered, lips simply focused on getting better, all right. She nodded her head. Stay with me, please, I will. He reassured her while holding her delicate body close. I will not leave, I promise. He stayed by Libby's side all day, most of the night. Before Jenny arrived to take his place, you might want to take a break and get a shower. Jenny proposed. How is she doing? That sounds good, he replied. She is improving, I think. She will be fine. But yes, a shower would be nice. She'll want truly be okay until you two are back together. Jenny, she's been struggling since. Well, you know, Bill said, yeah, I do. He sat next to Libby and held her hand. He'll be right back, okay? She tightened her grip on his hand. I promise him coming back. Went to his room, showered, changed clothes. He called his boss to update him. His CO said, take care of your wife. You have leave time, so don't come back until she's home. Bill agreed and returned to the hospital. Libby's eyes lit up. Your back. She said, I told you I would be, he said. They spent the next day talking about what happened while he was in captivity. That NCIS guy told me you walked about 2,500 miles through Africa. She said that must have been tough. Yeah, it was. He said, I still have nightmares about it. She frowned him. So sorry. Bill, she said, I had no idea Brad had you captured. Like that, why did he do it? Why did you go along with having me declared dead? Bill asked. He wanted to end his marriage, Libby explained. He convinced my dad to retire early and helped me get promoted at work after hearing about you being captured. My promotion was approved. Brad started mentoring me, taking me out to lunch. I knew he wanted more, but I refused his advances. He backed off. Missed you, but it felt good to have someone care for me. For 2 years, I heard nothing from the military. Then one night, he convinced me to drink. That's when it first happened, after nearly 4 years of you being gone. He suggested I declare you dead. He believed that with you gone, I would receive your life insurance and he could use that to divorce his wife. Wow. Bill said that would have been around $400,000, so he planned to use that for a divorce. Libby confirmed with a nod. He told me his wife would take everything in a divorce and he would need that to survive until we got married, Libby explained. And you were going to give it to him? Bill inquired. I wasn't thinking straight. Libby admitted. I had enough for myself. And I considered your insurance as tainted money. I wouldn't feel right accepting it. I also thought about using it for Jenny's college and mentioned it, but didn't like the idea. Did you ever stop seeing him? Bill questioned. Yes. Libby replied. I ended the relationship as soon as I learned you were alive. I told him that since we were still married, I wouldn't be with him. He didn't like it. I believed you were dead. No one informed me otherwise. It had been so long. And everyone said the chances of you being alive were very low. Bill listened carefully. I understand, he said. But why the distant treatment when I returned? Why did you put me in a separate room when I got home? I was shocked, Libby said. I didn't believe you were really alive. I had to see you, talk to you first. Before I could accept it then, there was Brad, please. Bill, you don't know how much pressure? He had me under. And then when I saw you that night, I knew it was real. Sobbed before continuing the look on your face when you first confronted me. I had never seen you look like that before. The way you spoke to me scared me. She said I knew then that I had screwed up big time. I don't ever want to see that look again. You wouldn't let me explain anything. You had already made up your mind, so that's why you didn't fight the divorce, Bill said. Libby nodded her head. I knew it was a lost cause. You had the prenup, you had all the evidence. She said even though I was duped by that guy, I was in the wrong, so I backed down. What do you call it, a tactical withdrawal you? And I lost? We both lost lives, Bill said. But you still have your career with the Marines, she said. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything without you there to share it, he said. Libby started crying, her body shaking as she sobbed. He held her tight. I'm so sorry, she cried. I've missed you so much, please. Well, tell me you forgive me. Tears fell down his face as he thought about everything. She said, I forgive you, Libs, he said through his tears. Libby cried even harder, holding him as tight as she could. They continued talking throughout the day, reminiscing about their lives. The doctor eventually entered the room to inform Libby that her tests were good and she could leave the hospital. Bill called Jenny to let her know that she didn't need to come to the hospital. Thank you, Dad. She replied, I'll have dinner ready when you get home. The concept of home weighed heavily on Bill's mind. The hospital moved Libby to the patient pickup area where Bill was waiting in his truck. He assisted her in getting in the truck, fastened her seatbelt, drove her to her condo. Bill helped Libby enter the elevator and companion her to the front door. He was surprised when he entered the condo. It looked similar to their time together, filled with family photos, reminders of his military service. I hope you like it, Libby said. I wanted to be surrounded by happy memories. I definitely approve, he replied. Jenny emerged from the kitchen, her apron in hand. Dinner is ready, she announced, mimicking a servant from her mother's mansion. They entered the dining room and found the table set for two, complete with lit candles, chilled wine, and a covered dish. Jenny seated them and uncovered the main course, revealing a large lasagna. She served their food and poured them each a glass of wine. Where's your plate, princess? Bill asked. Jenny smiled in response. This is your dinner, she said. I'm going out with some friends. See you later. She kissed them on the cheek and left you be good. A smile before going out. Our daughter has certainly grown up. Bill said yes, she has. Libby responded. She picked up her glass and offered a toast to us, she said. Bill smiled, then joined her in the toast. They ate the lasagna Jenny prepared for them and cleaned the table. Libby turned to Bill. Would you be willing to stay for dessert? She asked with a smile. Dessert sounds wonderful, he said. What did you have in mind? She took him by the hand and led him down the hall to the living room. This, she said as she hugged him warmly. Bill felt a familiar sense of comfort. She broke the embrace and went to her dresser. She opened her jewelry box, pulled something out, and handed it to him. I believe this is yours, she said. She took his left hand, placed his wedding ring on his ring finger. Then she hugged him again. Until death do us part, she said. He smiled. She changed into her pajamas. You're wearing way too much for what I have in mind, she whispered once. She had her clothes off and wrapped her arms around his legs. Bill's excitement grew as they shared a passionate moment. Libby gently took him in her mouth, creating a tender sensation. They exchanged loving looks as they enjoyed each other's company as their connection deepened. Bill felt the urge to express his affection. I'm so grateful for this moment with you, said. Libby smiled and continued their embrace together. They shared a moment of connection that left them feeling fulfilled and content after their intimate moment. They shared tender kisses and caresses. Bill's renewed energy and passion left them both feeling connected and fulfilled after spending a long time together. They fell asleep in each other's embrace the next morning. Bill woke up to find Libby still holding him. He looked at the clock and considered getting up, but Libby asked him to stay. For starters, you're on leave. She said you can always call them and tell them you've been taken captive by a wild woman who refuses to let you go until you've given Her a million hugs that sounds just about crazy. Enough to work, Bill said, smiling. Libby wrapped her arms around him. I'm serious, she said. We've got 6 years to make up for, so are we reconciling? He asked. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, if you want, she said. Bill smiled and nodded his head. I do, he said. I'll call Sally first thing and have her file the paperwork. I have an idea, though, with that, she asked. What do you say we redo our wedding vows? He asked. You mean like get married all over again? She asked. He nodded his head. Yeah, he said, in a church, just like we did before. What do you say? Will you marry me again? She thought for a moment, then smiled. Yes. Bill Masterson, I'll marry you again. She said yes. They heard from the door. They turned, surprised to find Jenny jumping up and down, clapping her hands. Fortunately, they were still under the covers when Jenny ran into the room and hugged and kissed them both. Can I be your ma of honor? She asked. Libby, please, of course, Libby said, prompting another round of celebratory yelps. A month later, Bill and Libby renewed their wedding vows. Bill's parents flew in from Texas, and Libby's parents came down from Los Angeles as part of the ceremony. Bill pulled out the divorce paperwork he'd gotten from Sally, and with great flourish ripped the paperwork in, to then took the remains and ripped them again, tossing the shredded paper into the air, prompting applause from everyone in the church. During the reception, Libby leaned towards Bill. Where do you want to go for our second honeymoon? She asked. Bill pulled out some tickets. I thought we'd take nice cruise somewhere, maybe Europe, said. Libby looked surprised. Those are first-class tickets. She said, how did you manage those? Bill smiled, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to her. Looked at it, confused. The William and Elizabeth Masterson Reconciliation Fund. She read. What's that? He smiled. That's what I did with a check you gave Sally for me, he said. She still looked confused. You mean? She began. Yeah, said. All I ever wanted was the sweet red-headed girl I fell in love with at Balboa Park so long ago. She smiled. Hugged him tight. Well, I'm glad you put it to good use, she said. They returned from their trip tired, but happy, and more in love with each other than before. A few days later, Bill came home from work to find Libby waiting for him. We need to talk, she said. Bill thought, this can't be good. What is wrong? He asked, sitting in his recliner. She sat in his lap and wrapped her arms around him, impregnant Master Sergeant Masterson. She said, and it's all your fault. She added with a smile. Bill's face lit up as he hugged and kissed his wife 9 months later. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy named Jonathan Travis Masterson after fathers. Jenny was delighted that she was finally a big sister. Wonder if heck go into the family business? Bill asked. I sure hope not, Libby said with a smile. Thanks for watching. What do you think about the choices they made and how everything turned out? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your take. And if you enjoy true relationship stories, feel free to subscribe. More are coming soon.